everyone, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 25th of September 2023. The end of September. This is the last one I'm going to record and publish in September. And I remember about 5 minutes ago saying, oh my word, I can't remember it's September already. And here we are at the end of September, and the next time I talk to you fine folks, it's going to be October. The days are passing way too quickly. I don't know about you folks, but that's the way it certainly feels for me. Anyway, it's Gary here again, and you know what? What a weird week. What a bit of a weird week that we all endured together. You know, at the beginning of the week, if someone had said or stated, listen, don't worry, you're going to win both games, very, very important games for different reasons, and you're going to win them both with a clean sheet as well, I think everyone would have taken it. But I guess it's only Rangers right now that can have that very thing happen, but put ourselves in a bit of a worse mood than we were at this same time last week. And I don't know. Do you know what I think it is? I've been reflecting on this a lot since the end of the game yesterday. I think really what it comes down to is standards. Rangers Football Club has very high standards. Our fans have very high standards as well, and whether that's right or wrong for who we are, where we are, and in terms of our overall journey, that's for another debate at another time. But when those standards are not met, and I don't mean just as a one-off, like as a one-off bad decision in the boardroom, or a one-off bad signing on the pitch, or a one-off set of tactics that we got wrong. These things can happen, and we kind of lament it. We go a bit hysterical at times, yes, agreed, granted, myself included. But when it's not just a one-off, when it starts to feel like there's a little bit more regularity to it, when it becomes a pattern, essentially, is what I'm saying, then we make our feelings very much known. And that's exactly what I'm sure fans did across the globe. Certainly did that yesterday morning here in Calgary, and the fans, more importantly, at Ibrox, did the very same thing yesterday with booing the team off the field after a 1-0 clean sheet victory. It's a sign, and I don't know yet what it's a sign of. It's, sometimes it's very difficult, I think I've said this before, to be completely objective in the moment. That some of the objectivity comes a wee bit later on, once you actually know what's happened, you've had that experience. But it's a sign of some description, folks, and I don't know, it doesn't feel like a good one. It doesn't feel like a positive one for right now, but I guess in the fullness of time we will see how all that maps itself out. So we'll get through the games segment, and then we'll go through the usual bill of fare for the remainder of the pod for this week. So 2 games this past week, and it resulted in 2 very, very contrasting 1-0 victories, one in the Europa League group stage and one in the domestic league. And I'm definitely not going to spend too much time on the second game, as I'm still kind of coming to terms with what I witnessed, to be completely honest. It's just so weird. And so we'll start with the better of the two, and that was last Thursday's brilliant home opener in the Europa League group stage, where we ran out, I thought, very worthy 1-0 winners against a bit of a wily Real Betis side. And I was very fortunate myself personally to get to come home, as in drive home from work, and watch it somewhat uninterrupted while still, in inverted commas, working. At the same time, I thought I was going to get stuck at work and just get updates from a few of the groups that I'm on, but I got a chance to see it, and I thought we started the game pretty well, then settled into a bit of a kind of familiar pattern of just waiting to react on what Betis does, rather than us forcing our game on ourselves, or forcing our game onto the opposition. However, we did pick it back up again towards the end of the first half, I thought, and I thought we were absolutely superb in the second half. I really did. I think that was probably the best of the season. In the back to the first half anyway, Rabbi Matondo had a fantastic chance early in the game, and I thought he was odds on to score. I think it was a brilliant ball. I can't even remember who played the through ball now, actually, now that I'm taking a bit of a blank on that. But brilliant through ball, and he goes through, and I was just supremely confident he was going to do what he's been doing. And I thought he could have taken it around the goalie, quite honestly, and tapped it in, but he decided to shoot relatively early on, and it ended up being a bit of an easy save for their goalie. Spilled it a wee bit, but I think that was more just, oh yeah, beauty, I've got it here, I'll just collect it now. But I did want to talk more about the second half. That was the most noteworthy part of the first half. And as I say, I think the second half was as best as we've played the whole entire season. I thought we were brilliant. We took it to Betis from the kick-off actually of the second half and had a brilliant half. Everyone played their part superbly well, and I think, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, we won the game relatively comfortably. Again, it's difficult to be objective in the moment. In the game, you're kind of panicking because you're like, oh, something bad's going to happen. They're going to equalise, and we would have probably taken a draw before the game. But you know, I thought we were fairly comfortable at the end. Jack Butland had another solid night and goal, and made the saves he had to make, but wasn't hugely troubled or called into action to make any worldlies or anything like that in terms of saves. And our goal was, I thought it was brilliant for a whole bunch of reasons. It's been quite storied already, but I'll go through it again. You know, the corner that came in, I mean, how Tav gets that type and style of bend on the ball, I mean, it's undefendable. Absolutely brilliant corner comes in, we win the ball, and then I think we won the ball no fewer than 4 times, including the goal. And you know, and the goal came from what would you say, a combo, a Davies and Sima combo. Because I still can't see from any angle whether it was Davies or Sima that got the ball over the line when what turned out to be the winner. But then after the game, Ben Davies graciously said he can take the goal and I'll take the clean sheet. So very gracious in there, and I thought Ben Davies was absolutely fantastic as well, and has been, by the way, since he got back in the team. So brilliant. But again, we hit the post through Tom Lawrence before he went off injured, unfortunately. And then we also hit the bar from a Borna Barisic free kick as well. So if you look back on the highlights, I haven't actually done that, but looking back on the highlights, I'm fairly sure you would look and say, you know what, everything just worked for us. And it was a superhuman effort by the entire squad, and quite a depleted squad as well, and getting further and further depleted as the games come along. I guess appointment of the doc has still to reap a wee bit of benefit for us as we go forward, because the players are kind of falling, are crashing. What is it? Falling like, I don't even know what the statement is. But they're not doing well. They're getting injured, and that's not very good. But positives from the game: the result, absolutely, definitely, to get off to a winning start in the group is brilliant, and the club also gets a nice chunk of change for the win too. I believe it's around about 500,000 euros and or pounds. I think they're fairly close, but about 500k in the bank as well. And I just thought the heart and desire by the team, the backing by the fans, everything clicked for us, especially in the second half. And it just ended up being one of those kind of famous European nights, and something that you would hope would spur the team and the squad on to be able to do something a wee bit more spectacular in the next game. Not to be, but I'll get to that in a wee second here. Negatives, I did mention a wee bit earlier there, that dropping like flies. That's what it is, isn't it? Yeah, dropping like flies. There we go. So I won't even edit this. This is just what you're getting. It's dropping like flies. The players are dropping like flies. Anyway, so I'd mentioned earlier there that we were kind of, it felt like for about half an hour in the first half that we were waiting for them to do something so that we would then react to what it is they were doing. But other than that, the rest was great. And even then it was fairly contained. I mean, it didn't look like they had that one star person that was going to absolutely rip us apart, despite the English commentators salivating over them every time they got an attack on my DAZN feed anyway. But we if anything, I was going to be hypercritical, I would say we kind of sat back a wee bit after we scored, which, while understandable, ends up making things a wee bit more nervy than we would like. But other than that, not a bad thing to say about the team at all. In terms of possession, we give up a wee bit of possession. The stats say that we had 47% possession, 9 shots on target, 9 shots on goal with 5 on target, and versus their 12 shots on goal with 4 on target as well. They were flying shots right, left and centre all over the place as well. And on the referee watch, I don't recall much of what Lawrence Visser from Belgium did that was controversial or in any way annoying. Not that I can remember right now anyway. So he's going to get a 7 out of 10 for that one. Brilliant start, fabulous to be involved with that, and it's good to see just what happens when we work harder than the opposition. Look what we get. And that brings me to our second game. Oh, here we go. So Sunday's bizarre, weirdly flat and kind of clueless 1-0 home win against what, to be very fair, I thought was a very energetic and very, very organised Motherwell team, who the ball just seemed to stick to their feet every time. They actually played really well. And I would usually be delighted with a victory and a clean sheet, and even if it was a bit dire or we were hanging on at the end, I would still be delighted at the end and kind of convalesce myself quite quickly to say, hey, clean sheet, victory, nothing more needs to be said. But before the game, I thought it was going to be about 3 or 4 nil, because we're coming back off the high of the Betis result. And I think, Motherwell at home, I think I mentioned this last week, I meant to anyway, that we should be beating Motherwell at home relatively easy anyway. That shouldn't be a game that we're concerned about at all. But we just played so poorly across the entire game from start to finish. And I'm just genuinely confused as to how I feel about this whole thing, being honest. I'm genuinely let's look at the bright side, let's look at the positives. But it was tough to do. It got to the stage where it was kind of comical. I thought, where you're like, this would literally get football stopped if you had to watch this every week. Like, nobody would show up to our club. I would struggle to get motivated to watch Rangers if I had to watch that every single week, to be dead honest with you. But I don't want to spend too much time on this one, as I said before, as I just want to actually just kind of forget about it as quickly as possible. It was that weird that I think we just put it down to experience and say, look, we'll never ever talk about this again, or maybe we will, just because it was so bizarre. But of course we did win it from kind of fluke goal from Dessers, and for me the only other highlight was seeing 16-year-old Bailey Rice come on in the second half. But even then, that didn't do much to get us going. Other than it was just so flat, so poor. As I mentioned earlier, a little bit of a clueless performance when you can't pass the ball 4 or 5 yards to the guy who's your teammate, the person you've just spent the whole week playing and training with. There's something just amiss. And for it to happen to the entire team for the entire game, that's a full squad dip. That's impressive to be able to do that, I guess, if you could look at one sort of positive. On the positive side, the result, and that's about it. And the fact that we didn't actually drop any points is probably a bit of a, I don't know, I was going to say a miracle, but it's probably not a miracle. I didn't think we were in danger of losing any points either. I wasn't, biting my nails at the end or anything like that. I was just like, please, can this game finish so that I can have a pint and then I can head up the road. Negatives, the performance and the way that after the way we played on Thursday was just, I've used the word a couple of times now, but it was very, very weird. The injury, another injury, as we are dropping like flies, yep, I've got it right now, to Rabi Matondo. It's just what we don't need, as I think that's essentially the pace just being completely removed from the team now, and that's a downer, because as regular listeners will know, I've been singing his praises for the last wee while. He just does stuff, and even when he wasn't that great in the first half of the Betis game, he was still trying, he was still making an impact, he was still moving and getting their opposing their defenders moving and things like that as well. So there's a lot more to his game than just the stuff you would maybe see on the TV. And from what Michael Beale said after the game, it doesn't look like good news from him either. So just as it was starting to get going, that's really too bad. In terms of the stats for this one, it says we had 62% possession, 12 shots on goal, 7 on target, and to their 6 shots on goal and 4 on target. I'm never ever going to look at the replay of this. I'm never going to look at the highlights of this ever again. This will be the last part I say about this, which is the referee watch. And I thought Alan Muir did okay. I don't remember anything controversial other than a slight debate about what we thought might have been a penalty, but it was brought back from VAR I thought it was a debatable offside. Quite honestly, I didn't think he was offside, but that's kind of not his fault. So yeah, ruled out for offside before it got to the foul in the box, so we didn't actually get the penalty. But other than that, did okay. So he'll get a 7 out of 10 as well. 2 games this week, one in the League Cup in the quarter-final, and then a big home league match on the weekend. The first one is against Livingston this Wednesday, and that's a 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. It's 8 p.m. in the UK, and we all know how important this one is to us. It's a home tie for a place in the semi-final. Livingston were eventually soundly beat on the weekend by a 10-man Celtic team, so hopefully that's them kind of softened up a wee bit, and it'll be a bit of hopefully a more routine night for us. A similar scoreline to what we had in the league a wee bit earlier in the season would be kind of handy. That was 4-0, you'll recall. famous last words, we literally don't know what we're going to get from this Rangers team when they cross the line. So, I guess we'll see. The second game is on Saturday, the 30th of September, and that's at home to Aberdeen with a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff, 3 p.m. in the UK. And Aberdeen haven't had a great start to the league campaign, but they are coming off their first victory, which was a solid 4-0 victory over Ross County on the weekend there. And incidentally, that's actually who they play on Wednesday in the quarter-final of the League Cup at the same time as we're playing as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out and what, if any, impact it might have on them for Saturday. I don't think anyone here's under any illusions that Aberdeen do anything other than absolutely try their darndest to beat Rangers every single time they play them, whether it's home or away. We do have a decent enough home record against them of late, so I'm hopeful for 2 victories again, of course, like we would expect every single time we play at Ibrox, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, looking forward to that. Nothing much to add on the RTV front. If we do have any correspondence that's outstanding, please do let us know that, so that would reply to you again. As I mentioned last week, my email inbox is kind of overflowing right now, and I don't seem to be getting much of an opportunity to get to the emails. So if you're expecting anything from us, please do let us know. And I did mention last week that we are still in the process of collecting membership fees from various clubs. If your club is delinquent and you know that your club is delinquent, this Saturday's game is the last game that you'll get. We'll be suspending your RTV membership until you get your membership fees paid. So you don't want that for the bigger games that are coming up just before the next international break. So please get on that. We'll get Lorraine to send a note out about that, or maybe Sandra, or a combination of Sandra and Lorraine, to get the note out about that this week as well, so that you don't, for the sake of your membership fees, lose your access and have a lot of angry members shouting or staring at you come game time. On the shout outs for this past week, I did want to start with a bit of a shout out to Fraser and all the boys and girls over at Bramalea for hosting our first inaugural night in conjunction with the Five Stars crew, and that was an evening with Neil McCann last Thursday, and it went very well. Everyone who was there that I spoke to spoke very, very highly of Neil, and he had a great time as well as that. Not quite as many folks showed up as is kind of typical for these types of things, and I say typical because it was fairly short notice. We didn't get a lot of lead-in time to figure out exactly when Neil was going to be there, be available, and what the logistics were going to look like. Hopefully, if he comes back again, or any one of the Five Star stable comes back again, then we'll be in a good position to organise it with a wee bit more notice, and then we'll get a bigger upturn in the attendees as well. But as I say, by all accounts, everyone there had a fabulous time, and it's always great to have a legend in our midst as well. Secondly, I would like to wish the wife of a good friend of everyone at the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary, Hammy's wife, Anne Kavanagh, who celebrated her 50th work anniversary, her 50th anniversary with the Royal Bank of Canada this past week. And I think it was Thursday that they had a bit of a surprise do. The reason I'm hesitating on the date is I didn't actually get an invite to that particular event. But anyway, they had a surprise event for Anne down at the Palomino, which is, as you might know, is our old stomping ground. That was our home for a few years there for the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary, and the CEO of RBC flew in especially for the event. And the interesting part of that story is that Anne actually trained him 30 years ago when he was first kind of kicking about in the RBC land as well. So 50 years in a job. My understanding is Anne's going to be retiring towards the end of this year, or once December comes, I think she's done. But very well thought of. She's an absolute sweetheart of a lassie as well. For those who have the wonderful fortune to get to know her, you'll know that very thing as well. So congratulations on your 50th work anniversary there, Anne. Just unbelievable. Also, talking about 50s, I'd like to wish a very happy belated 50th birthday to Toronto Midtown's Andy Burnett, who was 50. I believe his birthday was on the weekend. It might have been Saturday past there, I think, and it looks like he was also back home celebrating it as well. I might have those details completely wrong. I just scanned it very quickly on social media, but Andy was instrumental in our our convention there back in Toronto, of course, back in June. So happy birthday. I thought you were a lot older than that, Andy, I have to say. So the convention must have aged you in some way. I jest, kinda. So yeah. So in terms of Leo, you know what? We're kind of out and in about whether he's going to get a job or not. So I'm going to leave how many days it is until he's 16 for next week, and we should have a better idea of what that looks like. And whether he's going to get a job or not is resultant on whether he's going to be snowboarding more seriously or more casually this coming season. So we'll figure that part out as we get there. In terms of the convention, I can confirm that it is officially, let me just get my notes here, I've been blabbing away here. It is officially 248 days and 35 weeks until the potential convention is going to be held in New York City. And I say that because we still haven't signed a contract with the hotel. And once again, I just need to be super clear, we haven't done any of that, therefore the convention is not going to be there that weekend until we do sign the contract. But we are having active ongoing dialogue, very, very similar to the updates from the last couple of weeks. We have a new proposal on the table from the hotel, which I think is going to be a lot more palatable for us. We do have a full NARSA executive meeting tomorrow night at 7 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will have an opportunity to look through the proposal we have from the hotel and also look through some other options of things to do on the Thursday and Friday night. And as I've mentioned before, our promise to you is that we will do our very best to have an event. I'm very confident that we will be having an event. We will try and have it on the dates mentioned for the sneaky ones that have already booked their travel and such, but Debbie, you know, and then we will see. It will feel like an NARSA event. It might just be a wee bit different to what we've done before. So we have more information. I did say I wanted to wrap this up before the end of September, and that's really what we're doing. We're kicking all this into high gear now and getting ourselves organised on what that's going to look like as we move forward as well. So yeah, just to reiterate, it's not official until it's official, folks. So don't be going all excited and getting travel booked just in case something happens. You never know. Until the ink's dry, it's not actually happening. For NARSA 2025, no material updates that other than what I shared last week. If you happen to miss last week's update, I would thoroughly recommend that you go and take a peek at that, because we provide a whole bunch of information about our recent trip down to Orlando, and our Rangers partners that we're dealing with, specifically Greg and Natalie, are both on holiday this week, so I don't suspect anything material is going to be in the works from a club perspective, but we have promised to catch up at some point after the back next week, and we'll take it from there. And I will be writing a formal recap for the group that was actually in attendance when I get a chance to do that. Actually, it's almost written, to be dead honest. I just need to transpose it from my notes into an email, and then that will hopefully act as a bit of a prompt for some more affirmative action over the next wee while. So stay tuned for that. One thing that we did talk about, I don't think I talked about it last week, but we did talk about when we were down there, was one of the things that may be an impact for us is going to be the potential for Rangers participation in the World Club Cup. Now, I know I've talked about that on previous pods before, but our understanding is that would be taking place in June and July 2025, which would be around about the time that we would be planning to try and take the event over to there. So in terms of the team or the club participation in the event, I don't think that would dissipate the club participation in planning and supporting and on-site support and logistical support as well for the actual convention in and of itself. But what it might do is it might impact other guests. I mean, if personally myself, I would want to go to the World Club Cup to see Rangers rather than organising a convention. With the greatest of respect to the convention, I love the conventions, but this is history that we would be part of, and I think it would be prudent of the executive to be able to make sure that we know exactly what's happening with that before we make any further absolute formal announcements. And we did speak to the properties when we were down there about that. We also spoke to Experience Kissimmee about that as well. And my understanding is we would know what our coefficient points are going to be essentially by the end of the Europa League group. So to get off to a flyer to win our first game, and that's some more coefficient points if we continue to have a positive group there, and then we know by the end, whatever the World Club Cup looks like, and when it's going to be held, Rangers are going to be part of it. That adds a wonderful headache for us to be able to try and navigate that, and maybe we do that in supplement to the World Club Cup. Maybe we do it before it, maybe we do it after it, or something like that. I'm not 100% sure just yet, but it's certainly in our thoughts. It's not something that we've forgotten about, and we have communicated to the various parties that how material this is for us. So stay tuned. Obviously we'll keep an eye on the results, and we hope for the results like the better result as we go forward, and then, as I say, we introduce another headache to ourselves that would be very, very gratefully received. On to the communication section for this past week. I've got my Gels guide thing all up to date again. I'm going to skip Monday and just go straight to Tuesday, because by the time you'll be listening to this, it will be Tuesday, no doubt, for most anyway. Tomorrow we do have the Livingston press conference. I'm not 100% sure what time that's going to be, but stay tuned to Rangers social media channels, and they'll give you the details on that. Wednesday, of course, is our game, as I mentioned earlier, and it's in the League Cup, or the Viaplay Cup quarter final, with a kick-off of it says here now 7:45. I think I said to you 8 o'clock earlier, didn't I? But the website there definitely said 7:45. So here we go again. This is going to be this European away game thing that's happening. But I'm going to check right now, literally as we are chatting here. This is live. I'm going to go into the Rangers website and double check, because the Gers guide said it was 7:45. Now the fixtures part of the Rangers website says it is 8 p.m. So what one is correct? I have no idea. Let me just go back and double check, just in case I got my facts wrong, but I am fairly certain I have not got my facts wrong. And it says here on Wednesday, kick-off 7:45. Yeah, so I have no idea what time the kick-off is, folks. It says 7:45 on the Gers guide. It says 8 o'clock on the match guide. I will send a note to Nick Thompson straight after this, our communications guru at Rangers, and ask him to get that updated. My apologies for that, but it's kind of not my fault. On Wednesday, so we have the game on Wednesday. Nothing earmarked for Thursday. Friday we have the press conference for Aberdeen, and also dropping on RTV on Friday is a documentary about Harold Davis as well, and I don't know much more about it other than that that's what's going to be happening on Friday, that it's going to be available for viewing. So if you have an RTV account, you might want to go and check that out. I'm certainly going to do that, because I think that will be brilliant to see that. Saturday, of course, we have the Rangers Aberdeen home game at Ibrox, and nothing scheduled for Sunday, so I don't know what the fixtures are for the Rangers women's team this coming weekend. We'll see what that looks like. And just to supplement some of the information that I talked about last week, and in terms of what Rangers were going to be doing for some sort of commemoration for the recent passing of Ronnie McKinnon, they did actually do an obituary that's on the Rangers website. I'll put a link to the article in the blurb for tonight's pod, and it's wonderful reading. What a career he had, and it's not very long. You don't have to worry it's going to take you too long to read it, but just great to see the memories that he's created and the contribution that he made to us as well. A fascinating story that he had, and I would encourage everyone to go and take a peek at that. Also, just this last week, Rangers published the results of the Disability Equality Survey that they had conducted recently, which was part of the ongoing fan engagement strategy that was discussed in the tail end of the close season there, and they were specifically looking for further data, mostly on the experience of disabled fans attending Rangers matches. I think with a view more to Ibrox rather than away grounds themselves, because Ibrox is the one that we can control, of course, and a lot of good information came out of that as well. I'll put a link to the outputs of that as well if you're interested in seeing what that looks like and what our immediate next steps are going to be as a club as we go forward on the disability front. It's a good read as well on a very, very important topic. Second last thing I wanted to mention on the communications front for this week was that I think it was just today actually, or maybe it was yesterday, there was a notification put out that tickets are going to go on sale on this Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. UK time, for an evening with Barry Ferguson and Alec McLeish, which is coming up here. The pre-sale is tomorrow. There's a pre-sale tomorrow, which I assume would be for My Gers members, and that's at 10 a.m. UK time, and then the general sales on Wednesday at 11 a.m. as well, and it's going to be in Edmiston House as well. Or I guess that's an Edmiston House official supporters pre-sale, so if you're an Edmiston House member, I'm assuming my shares would get that as well. I'm not 100% sure about that. But what it says is Rangers are delighted to announce an evening with Barry Ferguson and Alex McLeish, which will be held in Edmiston House, presented by Parks Motor Group on Saturday, October the 14th. So not too much time between the tickets going on sale and the actual event taking place in and of itself. And I believe, is that the international break? It might be, I'm not sure. Anyway, sorry, back to the announcement. Two undeniable Ibrox legends, Ferguson and McLeish, will share experiences from their celebrated Rangers careers, including multiple trophies, a domestic treble, and the unforgettable Helicopter Sunday in a unique player and manager format. Guests will be able to submit their own questions to the pair during the evening, which will also feature live music and a raffle to win exclusive Rangers prizes. The event is presented in partnership with the club's partner, 5 Stars. So typically what we typically get, I didn't get a chance to ask Graham about this over at 5 Stars, but we usually get an opportunity to nab a couple of tickets for for competition for NARSA friends and family. So I'll hit Graham up about that and see if that's going to be a reality, and if that's the case, I will certainly let everyone know next week, and then we'll get something out there on our social media channels to see if any of you or your loved ones back home would be able to get their hands on a couple of tickets for what's going to be a brilliant night. For those who don't know, Barry Ferguson was my favourite Rangers player. I love the guy. I know that he's, there's a couple of camps when it comes to Barry and things like that, but just in terms of what he did, he was the main guy, when I was still attending Ibrox regularly, and just loved his guile. Was so disappointed when he left, was absolutely thrilled when he came back, then got an opportunity to meet him actually in Seville during the kind of pre-match stuff for the Europa League last year, and great guy. I really enjoy his company, and hopefully we'll get him over to convention one of these days. And Alec McLeish was of course a very successful manager against supposedly the best Celtic team in 30 years, and I think he out-trophied Martin O'Neill and his little band of headbangers. So yeah, that would be a great night. I'd love to be able to be back for it. Unfortunately I can't, but that'll be a great night for those involved. Very last thing I wanted to talk about this week, you might have seen, depending if you follow the Charity Foundation, but the Charity Foundation put a call out on the weekend there, or certainly it was on the weekend that I saw it, for prizes, for donations of prizes to help them with their auction and raffles that are going to take place at the charity ball, the gala ball that they're going to hold towards the end of October, I believe. I don't know the exact dates. I'll get the dates for you for next week. But if you or your company or anyone you know has anything that they'd like to donate to this, and I'm sure most donations would be gratefully received by the Charity Foundation folks, please just go onto the Charity Foundation site, and I'm sure there'll be somewhere there that you can do that, or you can get in touch with me and I can put you in touch with them. But it was Alison Forsyth at the Charity Foundation that put that call out over LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn more than any other social media platform, so if you ever need to get my attention or get a hold of me, I'm over there, not so much on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. But yeah, so I put my, as I'd mentioned many times before, or a couple of times before at least anyway, I'm a leadership coach, a life coach, and I put up 5 sessions of Gary Gillan coaching, direct Gary Gillan coaching as a donation. They've actually yet to get back to me, to be dead honest. So I don't know if it's a case of them going like that, what are we supposed to do with this? Nobody's going to bid on this garbage. I'm not sure, but that's what I offered up anyway, 5 hours of my time to coach someone, and hopefully that'll be received, and we can put that into action, and I get an opportunity to support a Rangers fan and of course the Charity Foundation at the same time. So yeah, take a peek at that. If you have something that you could donate that you think would be worthy of the event, please by all means get in touch and see how it goes. Okay, my friends, that will do it for this week. As always, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen, and please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. Until next week, here's hoping for a bit more of the Real Betis performance and a little bit less of the Motherwell performance in the 2 games that we have this week. Until next week, please do take care of yourselves, folks, and all the very best, okay? Cheerio.